Hey! What?
The lift wasn't working and he was in pain, so I tried to lift him on my own. Yes, it's bad. I'll need help.
Can I help you with that?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Workplace injuries hurt the most at home.
What really triggered it was one of my friends who took his own life. I started self-medicating with alcohol. I couldn't sleep. I was having constant nightmares, waking up screaming. A friend of mine referred me to the Legion. I had no idea what services they provided, but that's what eventually forced me to seek the help, and I'm glad I did. It was the best thing that I ever did.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Out of the Fog. This is another special edition where we are going to be speaking on the future of, and tonight it's about downtown St. John's, our classic mecca. I'm joined by Andrew Wadden, chair of the St. John's Board of Trade, Gaylynne Gulliver from downtown St. John's, and Chelsey McNeil, entrepreneurial superstar and social enterprise director at Choices for Youth. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back, and we're talking about the future of downtown.
This is Rogers TV.
Good evening, 007.
Tell me what you know, James Bond. You light the fuse on any explosive situation?
Got your attention.
007 license to kill.
Is this really what you want? Living in the shadows? Always alone?
I don't stop to think about it.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us in this special webcast series that we've been doing with Out of the Fog ever since our pandemic came through. And this is a series about the future of, where we pick a bunch of different industries. And tonight, as we've discussed before the break, we are talking about the future of our historic downtown region. I'm joined by Andrew Wadden. He is one of the partners with Wadden Pettigrew Hogan Law, and he is the current chair of the St. John's Board of Trade. How you doing, Andrew?
Good, Danny. How are you, man?
Doing great, buddy. Thank you so much for jumping on the call. I got Gaylynne, and she is from downtown St. John's. She is the marketing, events, and media queen of it all, and you see her all over talking about the downtown and taking care of the members that comprise it. And so thank you so much, Gaylynne, for being on the call tonight as well.
Thank you for having us, and it's nice to see you too, Andrew and Chelsey. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Amazing. And of course, Chelsey McNeil, she has a bunch of hats to wear. She runs the social enterprise division for Choices for Youth, another downtown organization that lives in the heart of the downtown St. John's. She also runs the social enterprise for the small businesses that operate under the umbrella of Choices for Youth, some of which operate in and outside of our area. And she has past entrepreneurial times under her belt as former owner of the incredible Model Citizens Boutique, now owned by Powerhouse Maryland. If you haven't met her, you should. And she's also tangled up with Choices for Youth. So it's all one big happy family. How you doing, Chelsey?
I'm doing fabulous, Donnie. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much, all three of you guys, for joining. I'm going to jump right on in downtown. If you pass through on a Sunday drive, or you wake up and walk that area every day, if you own a business, if you've been on George Street, there is something in the downtown for everyone. Gaylynne, what makes downtown so amazing?
You and I have had this conversation many times, and it's not really one particular thing. But I think if I was going to put my finger on it specifically, I would say it would be the sense of community that you feel when you're there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Chelsey, when you show up outside Choices or any of the places that you hang in the morning, when you look around, what comes to mind?
I think I agree with Gaylynne. Certainly that sense of community, that felt sense, that's really important and quite rare in a capital city in a province. But I also think we're surrounded by such incredible physical assets. there's not many cities in Canada that can look out to that gorgeous view that is comparable to the Narrows. And I think it's the community mixed with the physical landscape that makes this community so special and resilient, and actually makes everyone want to live here.
I agree. Andrew, in your role with the Board of Trade, there must be a lot of conversation that happens regarding the various industrial and commercial zones. When you think of downtown, what comes to mind?
I think of summer days and lunchtime walks. It's shame to say, the business I'm involved in personally, my law firm, we ended up having to move out of the downtown a couple of summers ago to find a space that was more suited to us, a little bigger, different parking. But I think if you talk to any one of my partners, they tell you they miss it down there. No matter what the season, summer or otherwise, just because there's such a great cluster of businesses down there. Whatever you want to eat, there's lots of choice. Whatever you want to buy, there's lots of choice. And that's not available in every part of the city. Maybe to a smaller extent it is, but not to the extent that it is in the downtown. So, this downtown is just a great place to be, and I can't wait for it to get back up running and vibrant again.
Thank you so much. I agree. Gaylynne, I'm going to throw it back to you now. For people who are watching the show who don't know much about downtown St. John's, why don't you tell them more about the great work the organization does?
Well, we are a business improvement area, what's known as the BIA. So we're actually a geographic zone on a map, outlined in a boundary. And what we do is promote commercial activity within that area. So basically, you're looking at Water Street and Duckworth Street, with east and west boundaries being Temperance Street and Springdale Street. So the types of things that we do support our mandate to make downtown a better place to live, work, visit, shop, play, and all these things. So a lot of the things we do feed into that. For example, we do a lot of marketing with downtown in general, because we have over 600 members. So that could be retail to an oil company and anything in between. So, we market downtown in general. We have special events. We do beautification, offer programs such as facade improvement, banner program, flowers, capital works, anything under the sun that you can think of. That basically, we always say, we will, clean up downtown, host events downtown, invite people to come downtown, and then it's up to businesses to get them in the doors. So that's kind of what kind of an economic development organization, as well as involved with beautification and events. And of course, all that rolls into people wanting to come down here. We're essentially placemakers, really.
Love the placemaking topic. We had a conversation a few weeks ago with Neil Daw and Dave Lane and Jen Crow, all about placemaking. Very important, and downtown is so critical in that. Chelsey, when you were first thinking about moving and starting your business downtown those few years ago, what drew you to the downtown area?
It's interesting. Thanks for that question, Donnie. I was actually reflecting on this last couple of days. When I opened my business, when I opened Model Citizens, I was 23 years old. I moved here in January post-university, and I started working at the LSPU Hall. And I remember wandering the streets of downtown, and I had lived in Montreal. I'm from Nova Scotia originally, and I was just enthralled by the place. And I think that conversation around placemaking is so vital, because it felt like a place I'd never been before, and it had a community that was so engaged and so eager, I guess, to embrace different and new ideas. And so for me, opening a business was creative, certainly, but it was also timely. I was ready to make an impact. And I'm happy to say Model Citizens has been open for 12 years now, and I can't believe it. It dates me now that I think about it. But, in that little corner of Duckworth Street, so Model Citizens is right on the War Memorial. That looks totally different now. And one of the things that drew me to that particular location was the War Memorial and the green space there, because I felt like it was compatible with my customers and my target market. And I think that's important in this conversation on what makes downtown a wonderful place to be. It's those pockets and those places and those neighborhoods and those corners that really have character and attract people from, across the globe, but is very grassroots and locally oriented. And those are the things that mean a lot. And that's the magic formula in a downtown.
Well, geez, I think we're done here, you know? That was incredible. Andrew, I'm going to ask you, in your role, obviously, you know, working in law every day as you do, defending the rights of so many people, and you think of downtown, you know, as a region that represents so many eclectic stakeholders, and yet you got a whole lot of industrial and commercial zones and economic things that are on your mind every day. What draws your subject matter to the downtown, and what do you think downtown is going through, and what do you think that we need to be thinking about from your lens as someone who advocates for business?
It's like a Russian doll question, Donnie.
Yeah, just get busy. Just cracking them off there. I'm leaving it open for you.
Well, in terms of the downtown St. John's Board of Trade, you know, the Board of Trade has over 770 members. Right. A good share of those members are in the downtown. And what I've always found interesting in my time at the Board of Trade, and I know you spent time there too, is that oftentimes the members in the downtown tend to be the most vocal and oftentimes the most colorful with what they're saying. Keeps business and keeps the work at the Board of Trade very interesting, right? And it's good. Yeah. Groups like the Board of Trade, all lobby organizations, would be Board of Trade or NADI or NOIA, whomever, who have members in that area, need to hear from those members, need to hear what's going on with them. In terms of what's going on with them now, we've heard from a number, and you know, their concerns are very similar to the concerns we hear from members in all parts of the city. And I don't want to malign other people in other parts of the city, because there's businesses everywhere in St. John's, you know, are having a tough time right now.
Sure.
The concern is, when are we going to get back to either normal or whatever this new normal is going to be? And the concern would probably be alleviated if they had a more definite plan in front of them as to economic recovery. Now, we know that's not to set aside all the concerns there are with public health crisis, because everything has to be done in line with what Dr. Fitzgerald is prescribing, etc. Business gets that, but what they need to know is, when are they going to be able to get to a place where they can start earning again? When will they be able to get to the place where liquidity is not as much of a concern as it is now? And that's such a worry for all these businesses. And many programs have been put in place by largely by the feds. Good programs, but they're only going to bridge a lot of these businesses so far. So basically, there's a lot of concern, and they need to know the steps in front of them to get back to where they need to be.
Very well spoken, as always. And I can't wait to jump back after this short little break that we're going to have, because we're going to talk about opening up phases and all the things that we may want to express to each other in terms of ideas we may have. And I look forward to getting more of a lens regarding what each of your organizations are doing to prepare to help downtown get back to its former glory, shall we say. This is Out of the Fog. We'll be right back after this break.
All right, girls.
Mom, you said it's played again.
Workplace injuries hurt the most at home.
Are you a woman experiencing abuse? Do you know a woman experiencing abuse? Help is available any time of day or night. ShelterSafe.ca is an online map that helps you find a women's shelter or transition house that meets your needs so you can live a life free from violence. ShelterSafe.ca. Help is just a click away.
Welcome back, everybody. This is a special edition of Out of the Fog called The Future Of, and tonight we're talking to three heavyweights in our community from the business and small business fronts, and we're talking about the future of downtown. I'm joined by Andrew Wadden and Gaylynne Gulliver, and Chelsey McNeil. And Chelsey, I would like to jump back in and have this segment focus more on the recovery and the planning front. And Andrew made a great point before the break around recovery, and I'd like you to dovetail off that if you should.
Yeah, and thanks, Donnie. You know, I think we have an opportunity in front of us when we talk about recovery. I'm an eternal optimist, but not one that's unrealistic, I don't think. We have an opportunity to do things a little differently. We know that this is going to be a long road, and it's going to be a tough road, but it's also going to be a tough road for a lot of people. So when we look at inclusion in the economy, I do think it needs to be part of this discussion. When we look at how an economy recovers, we have to think of the multiple dimensions of that economy. And we really have to look at the social, economic, and physical and political environments when we're looking at, I guess, we're imagining what we could see in the place in which we, I guess, a new version of the place that we do live in. And so when you think about economic recovery, it has to be part and part or hand in hand, certainly with social recovery. In my world at Choices for Youth, you know, we run social enterprises, we run businesses that operate with social outcomes, but also economic outcomes that provide tangible jobs for at-risk youth in our community. So we see as one really big part of that recovery is the opportunity to purchase locally. It's the opportunity to, what could we do with social purchasing, local purchasing, procurement built into that stimulus? And, Australia has demonstrated this. We've seen examples across the UK and as well across Canada that social purchasing and local purchasing can go a long way when talking about economic recovery in major economic events. So that's something that I'd like to see, our city, our province, take a real look at and really try and embrace what community benefits or social procurement could do for marginalized folks in our community, but also our important and beloved local businesses.
Thank you so much. That's incredible. And Gaylynne, I'm going to ask you, as a huge proponent of buying and supporting local, what comes to your mind when you hear Chelsey?
Oh, she's absolutely correct, and she's hit the nail on the head. I think one thing that's been revealed through this pandemic is our necessity to support our local economy. I mean, when you look at local, I'm talking, of course, downtown, but in our other communities and in other areas of our province as well as our country. I think some real weaknesses have been revealed in our economy and shortfalls. And it's a funny analogy I'm about to say, but Fred Rogers, the famous television, host, Mr. Rogers, his mother used to say this thing to him that when he was afraid or if he was ever anywhere, where things were helter-skelter or scary, to look for the helpers, because the helpers were the people that were doing the good. And I think the analogy here is to look for the opportunities, look for the bright spots. And depending on how you were positioned going into this pandemic, a lot of businesses, and there's a lot of different industries going on downtown too. So that's the other thing, recover at different speeds and they're going to need different things. But one of the things that has been revealed is the whole electronic economy and how this take advantage of that locally and have been taking locally to achieve success or as much as they can over these last number of weeks. So I believe the pandemic has really opened people's eyes wide to what we've been preaching in Chelsey and of course Andrew for many years is, the importance of supporting local.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, Gaylynne. I think it's about value. It's how we create value in our communities. And that's a really important question. And I think we all have to ask ourselves, whether that's in our homes with our purchasing power or organizations or governments or other businesses. How with my dollars can I generate value within my community? And when we start thinking about value, I think that's where we're going to innovate.
And value can be more than just monetary, but to take the monetary side of this, if you spent up to, 100 at a local business, 3/4 of that is staying in your economy. Whereas if you take that same $100 and you spend that in a non-local business, a large big box store, I think it's something like $14 of that actually ends up staying in our economy. So it's actually makes economic sense to support local businesses.
Absolutely.
I think there's two main pieces to economic recovery. The first piece is, how do we inspire people to, spend locally? One of those things, as Gaylynne well knows, is the Shop Right Here campaign, which is about to be launched by the Board of Trade in partnership with other chambers of commerce and folks like Gaylynne who've been working very hard on this. And, it's going to be it's going to end up actually being an e-commerce mall where people can go in, click on which local business they want to work with or buy from, and see what they're offering on the e-commerce front. And this will be built on in the months to come. But the second piece, and I think it's a big one when we start coming out of this, is how do we incentivize consumers to start spending again? Because people, and rightly so, are going to be afraid to spend money. What if there's another wave of this? Or perhaps they've been laid off and they don't have as much money anymore. So the way to incentivize is for the provincial government, for example, to bring in programs that does things like that. So let's talk about maybe someone was planning on renovating a portion of their house toward the end of this year or next year. Maybe a new bathroom or new fixtures in the kitchen. But now they're saying, wait, I'm holding off on that. I don't want to spend that money. And that's scary because that kind of spending that consumers do, that brings various trades into play, plumbers, electricians, contractors, all these businesses that are here in Newfoundland. So maybe there needs to be a program to the extent of incentivizing people such that it offers a rebate. I mean, there's nothing new and fandangled about that. We're not reinventing the wheel. Light and Power's been doing stuff like that for years when people put certain kinds of heating systems in their homes, right? So maybe if you spend $10,000 on some sort of renovation, you get X amount back, something like that. And that incentivization can be brought in across sectors and inspire and incentivize people to go ahead and spend money.
Love it.
And to add to that, I think when we bring it back on the social front and the creating value, when you think about a government contract, let's just say it's a construction contract. How cool would it be if the provincial government and the municipal government said, okay, we're going to do this work through the stimulus package from the federal government. We're going to build this something or other. And embedded in that tender is that you have to work with a social enterprise or a local company who demonstrates that they hire marginalized folks, that they are supporting folks in the community, are trying to get up on their feet. And we have viable businesses across this city that are social enterprises through Stella Burry, through First Light, Choices for Youth, that, if we embed those kind of things, those innovative things inside of contracts, we could actually stimulate the economy and support those who are marginalized at the same time with the exact same amount of money. It's pretty neat.
And also, especially when you refer to construction and other large contracts that are typically led by governments, there should be some sort of adjacency principle. I mean, we should be using our own contractors to provide things in large construction projects like steel, like our workforce, like local people. And I think role to play in speaking up, and I think our own local companies, big and small, should get the opportunity first.
So guys, I'm going to ask you, and Gaylynne, you can lead this one, and I'll toss the ball to Andrew then. When it comes to downtown owners and employees and dwellers of all kinds, where are we going to be in 6 months' time?
I have no doubt that it's going to be a slow recovery, slower for some. You're going to look at the bar and restaurant industry. Those ones, particularly bars, are going to be the last ones to open. So you're going to see a downtown 6 months, varying degrees of recovery, first of all. So those industries at various times will have to be supported. But I think we're going to see a vibrant downtown. I think we're going to see a return to that again. I mean, people's eyes have been open to the importance of supporting local. And in conversation with a lot of our businesses who have been open through this COVID thing, as well as through the construction project that is currently happening downtown, I mean, they're feeling the love and they're feeling the support. I'm hoping, and I really feel that, our community are going to support our local businesses, and we're going to see a vibrant downtown again. It's going to take work. Like, for example, as Andrew alluded to, is that basically the electronic mall. We've provided a list from our website that we constantly update daily that tells you about all the businesses that are currently operating through COVID. So, we're going to have to support people beyond that once things open with a large marketing plan. So you're going to see a lot of awareness, I think, brought to downtown. And I think you're probably going to see a lot of buy-in because, after all, local businesses can do it better. They're closer to their clients. They're closer to their markets. They have their finger on the pulse of the downtown and of the city. And they're also better at what they do in the way that their customer service and product knowledge is superior.
Andrew, what's the Board of Trade's general commitment, not only to the downtown, but small businesses in general who are looking to reactivate and get back to normal? Well, what can you say to that and to these people watching tonight?
I'll tell you the two main things that are being done right now. One is if you go on the Board of Trade website, you'll see what's being offered on a daily basis every week in terms of webinars. And the big one that I think is coming up, and it speaks somewhat to the last question about what's the downtown, and in fact, all business going to look at in a few months, is the one about pivoting. I don't think I've heard the word pivot so much since the basketball team in grade 8. And that was very different, right? You've heard this phrase, pivot or perish. And businesses are doing it. Everybody from pizza places joining up with other businesses and offering ready-to-make packages and beyond. Listen, I think you're going to see a lot of the same businesses we've seen doing some very different things.
What Andrew said is the absolute truth because we have people down there, and like I said, we have close to 600 members, and with varying different kinds of businesses, but also varying different kinds of abilities. So we have businesses down there that are just learning email, that are just realize that fax isn't cool anymore. And
whoa, fax isn't cool anymore? What?
And so that are actually starting to wade their toes in the social media. And we have who have already been on social media, have already had websites that are now turning those websites into e-commerce sites and are kicking it and are doing live events with all their products. And there's so much innovation that's happening down there, and pivot is happening right before our eyes. And it's because downtown St. John's is full of a bunch of creative entrepreneurs. It's the entrepreneurial heart and spirit of our city.
Guys, I'll tell you what, we are at the end of our hang for this evening. I appreciate all three of you for jumping on. Chelsey McNeil, Gaylynne Gulliver, and Andrew Wadden. You guys are so amazing at what you do. Keep doing it. And if you guys have any questions, you can reach out to the St. John's Board of Trade, downtown St. John's, or Choices for Youth to learn how about you can get involved and help these organizations do their incredible work. Until next time, I'm DC, and have a good night. We'll see you next time on Out of the Fog.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
I want to report a kidnapping.
There are no open or closed cases that match your date or description.
I'm just someone who saw it.
So what?
Saw them take him.
Tell someone. See if they believe you.
I've got unfinished business.
Gina.
I'm gonna find the man who murdered my wife and kill him.
Revenge is what makes a man like you exceptional.
Oh, that's not good.